When it comes to investing, most people think of stocks, real estate, or commodities. Traditionally, these instruments were what people used to build wealth over time. But in our lifetime, there is one asset that has completely outperformed everything: Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the best performing asset of the 21st century. There is no second best. What other asset has gone from being worth a few cents to being worth over 100K? No other asset in history has grown this much and this fast. I say that Bitcoin is the best performing asset of our lifetime, but I'm not just talking out of my ass. The numbers don't lie. If we compare Bitcoin side by side with traditional assets like stocks and real estate, Bitcoin's growth blows them out of the water. When Bitcoin first launched in 2009, it was trading at literally 1 cent. Now it's at 100K. That's a 1 billion% increase. If you had just bought $10 worth of Bitcoin back then, it would be worth over $100 million today. Let's compare Bitcoin to the other big players. The S&P 500 returned around 300% over the last decade. Even gold, often considered a safe haven, has only gone up around 60% in that same time period. Top performing tech stocks like Amazon, Apple, or Tesla only saw growth percentages in the thousands. Still impressive, but nowhere near Bitcoin. Real estate in the US has increased roughly 50 to 80% over the last 10 years, depending on the area, with annual returns of around 7% historically. Sure, real estate can generate rental income, but in terms of pure price appreciation, there is no competition. Not to mention, rental properties require maintenance, taxes, and large capital to get started. The cash flow from renting out a property doesn't mean much after all the expenses. When you compare the cash flow to the astronomical growth of Bitcoin, the rent money starts to look pretty small. What's a few $100 in rent when a single asset has the potential to multiply in value by 3x, 5x, or even 10x? While Bitcoin has been volatile in the short term, zoom out on the charts and you can see that the long-term trend is crystal clear. One of the main reasons Bitcoin has gone up so much is due to its limited supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. No one can create more. Compare that to fiat currencies where governments and central banks can print whenever they want. As time goes on, more people will want Bitcoin as they start to understand it and realize the potential that it has. Since the supply stays the same, the price will naturally go up. It's basic supply and demand. Scarce assets always rise in value over time. Take, for example, land, rare art, or vintage cars. Bitcoin is the same, just in digital form. Bitcoin today is a lot like the internet in the early 90s. Back then, people didn't understand it. They thought it was just a fad. It's the same story with Bitcoin. Most people ignore it or make fun of it. But the ones who take the time to learn and stay invested will see life-changing results. In many ways, Bitcoin still is a very immature asset class. It's still growing, spreading, and becoming more widely accepted. We are still very early. Bitcoin has value because it solves a fundamental problem in the modern-day financial system. It allows us to store and transfer wealth without needing third-party approval from banks or governments. It is a fully decentralized digital currency that operates on a secure and transparent network. It has value due to its limited supply, increasing demand, and trust in the network. The limited supply is hard-coded. No one can ever change it. This built-in scarcity makes it similar to gold, but unlike gold, it is easier to store, easier to transfer, and more accessible to people around the world. Anyone with a smartphone and an internet connection can get involved. Over the last 15 years, the price has skyrocketed because more and more people are seeing it as a strong alternative to traditional money and assets. Trust in governments, banks, and fiat currencies have declined in recent years, and rightfully so, especially during times of inflation or economic instability. Bitcoin has stood out as a good way to preserve and protect wealth. On top of that, major institutions, companies, and even countries are starting to adopt Bitcoin or adding it to their balance sheets. Each wave of adoption brings in more interest and investment, which drives up the price over time. Bitcoin is the king. In my opinion, none of the other altcoins will ever catch up to it. Bitcoin isn't just another cryptocurrency. It was the first, and it solved a problem no one else had solved before. The first mover advantage is powerful. Bitcoin has the most robust and battle-tested network. It has never been hacked. It is fully decentralized, and it has the widest global recognition. It is the only digital asset that has ever reached a trust level similar to gold. Most altcoins are essentially tech startups. They promise big innovation or faster blockchains, but many are run by centralized teams and can be influenced or shut down by the people behind them. Bitcoin has no CEO, no marketing team, and no central authority pulling the strings. This is why it's so powerful. It belongs to everyone and no one at the same time. Of course, altcoins can pump much harder in the short term, and it makes sense to trade them and cash out. I trade altcoins myself. But Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that has truly cemented itself as a sound money and a global store of value. A lot of people see the high price of Bitcoin and think they've missed the boat. Bitcoin has come a long way, but the journey is far from over. Most people on the planet have no exposure to Bitcoin yet, and institutions are only just starting to dip their toes in. Entire countries are still figuring out how to regulate or adopt it. We are still incredibly early. I can't stress this enough. Think about it like this. When the internet was first going mainstream in the 90s, it wasn't too late just because you missed out on investing in the first .com companies. The real value came as more people used it, and the infrastructure got stronger. Bitcoin is following a similar path. Over time, trust in the technology increases, and people will realize it's not just a trend. Don't live in the past and just focus on what you could have done many years ago. Instead, focus on what you can still do today and take the first step. I believe Bitcoin will continue to grow, and there are still gains to be made. The best time to buy in was obviously many years ago, but the second best time is today. Anyways, that's it from me today. Thank you for watching, and take care.